Hey there toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time travelling toy collector and this is Studio Series 8605 Scourge, as he appeared in Transformers the movie. That's the animated movie from 1986, hence the name of the Studio Series line. This is another of those fantastic figures that have been recreated lovingly by Takara Tomy and Hasbro, based solely really on their animated appearance and their animated characteristics. As many of you will be aware, when the figures were originally released back in the 80s, they were, let's call them, a little different. Either that's to do with their aesthetic being a bit chunky plastic with very little articulation, or different colorizations, or whatever it may have been. But Studio Series 86 is trying really hard and succeeding in the most instances to produce some high quality figures that absolutely nail the type of characters that we deserved and that our imagination created for us back in the 80s. They've brought them to life with these figures, and I for one am thrilled by them so far. I do have a minor niggle about this figure, but it sort of isn't about this figure, which I will come on to in a bit. But in the first instance, let's do what we need to do, which is take a quick look at the packaging. The packaging is pretty standard now for this range. There we are, seeing that it's the Transformers the movie Studio Series range 86. Beautiful Scourge artwork here, a bit more on the side there, really depicting that face sculpt, which is just high quality Scourge really. As a big plastic window there that lets us see what we're getting and make sure we're getting the right figure, because some of the in-hand scalpers are going out swapping figures around. We get a bit more Scourge in action over here on the side, and on the back we get our obligatory look at Scourge in a dynamic pose and Scourge as a sort of futuristic hovercraft type thing, like all the futuristic hovercrafts of 2006 2005 were, kind of. We also get a glimpse of the diorama, because like all Studio Series 86 figures, he comes with a diorama, and this is a particularly nice one I'm looking forward to getting out to show you, as it situates him in that transformation period when he is created by the hand of Unicron to support Galvatron in his mission to collect and destroy the Autobot matrix of leadership. So without further ado, I'm going to crack this packaging open to come out of shot for a second, whilst I drag him kicking and streaming out of the box. He doesn't want to come. I don't blame him. It's quite cold today. I'd love to stay in the box if at all possible. So here we go. Here we have the inlay packaging, which is all lovely and very nice. Thank you very much. We'll pop that down there. But first up, I'm just going to sort of situate this as best I can in here, in the review area, so that you can get a really good look at that diorama. Possibly one of my favourites of the Studio Series that we've looked at so far. It took me a bit of a while to get hold of Scourge, hence there being a bit of a delay in the gap. I am trying to do them in chronological order, so as to make the series of videos run smoothly. But here we have the diorama ready and waiting for Scourge, and we can see some of those the Insecticons being reformatted in the background. I have already had Scourge out of the box. Interestingly, I've not transformed him yet. I've been saving that for today. It's very loud extricating him from his box. He does come with a gun and a bit of willowy energy, which looks like it's some kind of weapons fire, but I think it can also be applied to his vehicular mode. In the first instance, let me pop him on here so you can get a bit of a look. Again, very articulate, and in a second I'm going to surprise him by bringing in his 1986 counterpart, the original Generation 1 Scourge, which I have, who yeah, looks a bit different to this. I mean, equally similar, but a bit different. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit there So in the first instance, we can just take in that form. And I haven't done anything particularly remarkable about posing him. I've just sort of got him out and stood him up. But I think these figures really do work well with these dioramas, and I think it's great that Takara Tomy and Hasbro have kind of gone. A lot of people collecting these, yes, they probably want to play with them and have fun with them, but actually there is a large element who will either be collecting them or at the very least want to be able to display them beautifully. And I think these dioramas really work very effectively in supporting us to do exactly that. So it's a big thumbs up for me. So let's bring him in a bit closer so we can have a little look. So there's the let me zoom in a bit so I can keep him nicely lit. There's that Scourge face sculpt, which I think is really very Scourgey indeed. We'll do a face-off comparison in a second. There's a lot of wonderful, I mean, he looks quite muscular actually. I think this version of Scourge has been working out. There's a lot of muscular detailing and panel detailing here. I think it looks really good, that you can see even on the inside of the various wing segments that sort of cling to his backpack, which I've not really done much in terms of tweaking or making any additional adjustments to at this juncture. There are similarities there to his Generation 1 original counterpart. Well, again, we'll have a look at that in a second. And I think there are some sort of custom arrangements around the wings and how they can be positioned back and what have you. I kind of like them like that. I mean, I know I'm probably in the minority, but I do kind of like it like that because it's quite evocative of the old school Scourge. There are with his fingers, which have been he's been given that lovely nail polish look, which I never quite understood, but nevertheless they've been true to it. He is, as with all of the figures, very well articulatable. The head, ball joint, etc. I'm sure you heard 100 people telling you how well articulated the figure is, so I won't bore you with that. But what I like about the articulation is that it will give you opportunities for some fantastic photographic poses, which is one of the things that I sort of came back to collecting these Transformers for, was to engage with toy photography, as some of you will be aware. So let's just carry on down a bit. So there's his feet, giving us, Scourge feet realness, which is lovely. I'll give him a bit of a 180 so you can see the back. It is quite hard to miss these rather gigantic rear sections, and so he does kind of fall into, I'm just going to pop him on here for a second, into that category of sort of like, let me just zoom out and give you a bit of perspective on him there, like a shell former. So you have some that are classified as parts formers and shell formers, and Scourge is definitely falls into the shell former category. Basically you hide the robot mode inside a shell. I have a feeling it's not going to be quite as straightforward as that to transform him, but I will see in a second. But it's right and proper that we bring into play here original G1 Scourge, who is perhaps one of the most shell formery of all. Apologies for this. There's a story behind this. Sadly, he's lost some of his stickers and other bits and pieces have gone the way of all time. But he still kept his cheery disposition nevertheless. Yeah. Very minimal scope for articulation, these Generation 1 toys. I mean, his arms mercifully are quite posable, quite-ish posable, but only in the sense that there's a forward and back elbow and there's a shoulder joint that allows you to go for upwards and down. There's a little bit of rotation in the legs, mainly to support transformation, but that's about it. So yeah, so Generation 1 Scourge, not the most articulate figure, perhaps one of the most characterful, but nevertheless not that articulate. But yeah, the reason he's looking a little worse for wear is I actually rescued him. This is my original Generation 1 figure. This was where my father put on a sticker that said, which I haven't yet fully wiped off because I was so excited when I found him in a storage canister in my garage. It was very exciting, and it was a price tag. Can you guess how much Scourge was up for sale at a car boot sale? And I rescued him and said, please don't sell him. I don't want to sell my Scourge. How dare you? No? Okay, well, I'll tell you. 50p. I'm just going to leave that there. 50p. And that's one of several that went the same way. So I'm not bitter, so don't worry about that. I just want to do a quick comparison on head sculpt to head sculpt. It's not bad at all, is it really? You can see that modern day Studio Series 86 Scourge is very reminiscent of a 1986 Generation 1 Scourge. So top marks to Takaro Tomy for that. Right. I said that I had a little bit of a gripe about this figure. I'll tell you what that is now. It's that they have announced, and they've released now, another Studio 86 figure, which is essentially nothing shy of just a full-on repaint of Scourge, which is one of the sweeps. And I had previously committed to getting the entire range because I do like a complete collection. I really struggle with the idea of just purchasing a utterly repainted figure with no adjustments or any other tweaks to their existence. It just absolutely floors me that they wouldn't do more to it. They may have done more to it, and in fairness, I may eat those words when I look into it just because. But I just think it's just such a shame that they didn't take the opportunity to maybe do something a bit more interesting with the sweep figures. I know that they did look pretty much like Scourge in the cartoon, so I get that if you want cartoon accuracy, then you have to take the rough with the smooth. However, I just think it would have been nice if there was something a little different other than the paint job. Anyway, as I say, I might be doing it a great disservice, and I will look into it before I make my final decision. But if it is just Scourge repainted, I possibly might skip that one. So apologies if anyone was looking for a complete set of videos, but I hope you understand my rationale for that. Okay, I'm now going to transform him into his futuristic hovercraft mode, which, as I say, I've never done before, so I'm not doing it on camera because, for one thing, the profanity that I scream will probably be completely inappropriate for your household to hear. It's going to be inappropriate for my household to hear. So I'm hoping that with a little bit of trickery, it'll feel like mere seconds have passed, when for me it's probably been 45 minutes of unmitigating torture. I will, however, confirm that if that is the case momentarily. All right, so see you in 2 seconds. Scourge, transform. And as if by magic, there we go. And here is Scourge, all transformed up into his futuristic hovercraft mode. I have to say, this wasn't quite as bad as I was expecting. There's a couple of instances where some tabs just did not want to do what I wanted them to do. But otherwise, it was a pretty straightforward and actually quite enjoyable transformation to get those hovercraft ports up and out. And again, so let's just take a look at the panel detailing on this. This is actually a really nice, really detailed. I just straightened that up. Poor old Scourge's head. I would like to have that lined up a bit better. How's that? That'll do. Yeah, so that was me rushing. So there's lots of nice nods to the original design, as you would hope. But it's very, 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 very sleek on the top. There's a port here for his gun, which is detachable, but we'll keep it on there for now. Around the back, we can see where the main thrust for this hovercraft comes, aka the feet. But yeah, overall, this is a really lovely, detailed top side of this futuristic hovercraft. I can just see Scourge commanding the sweeps into battle there. There's some lovely detailing on the sides. Those intake valves are there. We've got the Decepticon insignia on the front, just like the old school. The colour scheme is very true to the original. So I'm really happy. The underside is a little bit less successful. We've got very clear arms and legs. I'm reminded of War for Cybertron RC quite substantially here, although at least this backpack stays on. We have these two panels here which essentially almost vampirically cover him up. If we open these up, because they don't tab in, oops, there's his entire body. However, they do cover him up, and therefore we don't have to look at that slight justification for calling him a shell former. We also have this nice little feature here, as per the animated adventures, where we can actually have his face revealed as he's bearing down on his victims. So that's a nice feature that they've given us in this model. But I'm going to keep that tucked away for now. Thank you very much. So it's quite lightweight, as you would probably expect, but it's a really nice figure. And as I say, the transformation looked really complicated. I'm thrilled to say it was nowhere near as complicated as I really suspected it was going to be. So I'm quite content with that. I would just say there's a couple of tabs, particularly around getting the shell on the side to clip into where the arms are, that I had some difficulty with. However, that may just have been my model. It may well be fine on yours if you have one, or if you choose to go and get one. Is he fun to play with? Yes. Is he fun to pose? Certainly so far. Does he scale well to the other Studio Series 86 figures? He absolutely does. Yeah, absolutely, completely. And he also scales well to the War for Cybertron Galvatron and War for Cybertron Cyclonus. I think it's disappointing that Galvatron and Cyclonus have been released in the War for Cybertron range rather than being part of the Studio Series 86 range. I'm not entirely sure that I understand the logic behind that. I'm sure there is some. I just don't know what that logic is, because I would have thought they'd have kept those particular characters together, really, all things considered. However, they haven't, and it makes no odds, because we can mix and match. It's our collection. We can do what we like. That's the beauty of it being our own collection. So, does Studio Series 86 Scourge have a place in your collection? Well, if you're a fan of the 86 movie, if you're a fan of Generation 1 Transformers, if you're a fan of the evolution of their engineering into this modern twist on a classic design, then I would say 100% it does. If you're just a fan and collector of Transformers, then yeah, this is a no-brainer for you. You're going to want to pick this up. Is he easy to locate? That's a mixed picture. Depends where you're looking. It's always worth checking in on some of the online stores, and no, I don't mean auction sites, because again, Scourge and certainly some of the other Studio Series 86 figures have become a bit of a scalper's delight, and you do not really want to sort of feed into that scalping culture if you can. However, this is a beautiful figure, so I won't be judging you in terms of how you get it, as long as it is, of course, through totally legal means. Anywho, I'm going to leave you with this lingering shot. I'll also put some toy photography of Scourge against this diorama at the very end of the video. And if you want to check out more from him and others like him, then come over to my Instagram page, The Time Travelling Toy Collector, and follow me there. Whilst you're looking at following and subscribing, do the same for this channel. It'd be amazing if you do. Hit subscribe, hit notifications, you'll never miss a future video. Equally, you may want to have a look around and see what's there at the moment, whether you're into Transformers or Star Trek or Star Wars or Doctor Who or Battlestar Galactica. There's a load of stuff on the channel that you can go and explore at your leisure, all for free. So how wonderful is that? Anyway, you have been a fantastic audience. Thanks for sticking with me for the last 15 or so minutes. This has been Studio Series 86 Scourge. I have been the time-travelling toy collector, and it just remains for me to say, as I'm sure you are aware, that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care. One to roll out.